Okay, well, welcome to our Members Matter here on March 20th. We're here at Hillsborough Public Library, and I want to thank Laura for hosting us. So the purpose of our Members Matter, our monthly Members Matter, is to create a dedicated time and space for our members to interact with system staff and for system staff to share important information with our members. That's why today's Members Matter is going to look a little bit different. We are interrupting our regularly scheduled program for a special Q&A with Executive Director Leslie Bednar and other system staff regarding the recent executive order impacting the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Time permitting, we will go through our regular system updates and maybe even play some slides with friends. However, we feel that this matter and our members' concerns regarding this matter take precedence today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Leslie.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Is someone in Hillsborough able to do my slides? If not, I'm just going to keep talking. So happy vernal equinox day, everyone. I'm Leslie Bednar, the Executive Director of the Illinois Heartland Library System. Like Kate said, today is a wonderful example, and what we're going to talk about specifically of why we make sure to hold Members Matter every month or almost every month, excepting, of course, when we have Member Day. Our goals for this session is to give you a brief overview of our current situation and what is optimal to continue so that the Institute of Museum and Library Services thrives into the future. Okay, so if you saw my slides, the next slide would be the executive order and IMLS funding. Late last Friday,
Sorry, Leslie, I just wanted to let you know that I just sent Matt the slides, so Matt will get them up.
Okay, I knew you guys would do. Okay,
Troy's got them up.
All right.
The IT crowd has got this.
They got this, right? All right, so we're now talking about the executive order and an executive order and IMLS funding. Late last Friday, can you click the slide? Thank you. Great. Late last Friday, President Trump issued an executive order regarding 7 federal agencies. Some of you might have missed this in the news because maybe you were, I don't know, in the basement or an interior room in your house because of all the wind and the hail and everything else that happened Friday night. But in that executive order, which is intended to reduce the federal government, I think is sort of what the title was, it included the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS. IMLS provides crucial support to museums and libraries across the country. Through the Grants to State Library Administrative Agency, the Illinois State Library receives support for many programs that we all benefit from. Specifically, IHLS is supported within this annual allocation, which for the last 2 years has been roughly $5.7 million that goes to Illinois. We receive financial support for our system area and per capita grant, which is our operating grant, and the iLead trustee training portal. 16.8% of our system area per capita grant, or SAPG, if you want to play along with acronym soup, comes from this federal support. And we use that specifically to ensure that our delivery services continue to connect all of our members together. Next slide, thanks. At the moment, March 20th, 2025, federal funding and support for IMLS is good. It's safe. There are 2 reasons why it's safe. One, there's the authorizing legislation called the Museum and Library Services Act of 2018 is still in place. And second, the FY 2025 federal budget, which has been approved by continuing resolution, the issue has been resolved, and the Illinois State Library anticipates receiving their funds in the next month or so. So where we are right now is good. And all of you that have reached out to your federal representatives to let them know how you feel about IMLS support continuing, thank you, thank you, thank you, because that made a difference. The tricky part is that authorizing legislation, the Museum and Library Services Act, also known as MLSA, will sunset this September 30th. So that means we have, after September 30th, there's currently nothing in place to make sure that IMLS continues. And also because the federal Congress has not started working on that. We know of the federal 2026 budget. We don't know that there's funding in place for things like agencies like IMLS. So those two pieces are where we are focusing at the moment. A very coordinated effort to let our federal representatives know that MLSA, the authorizing legislation, has to continue beginning October 1st and 2025 and going forward, and that in the federal FY26 budget, there is funding for IMLS. Another question that we at the system have been hearing from all of you, and it is another piece of our library funding I want to say puzzle, but it's like what makes up the fabric of allowing our agencies to provide these services is related to E-rate. And so Troy Brown is here with us to give us an update on that component. Troy.
Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, so I'm hopefully in a very brief amount of time here going to overview a very complicated situation. So I will give as best overview I can, but I will try to reassure you that there are organizations federally that are looking at this that have this well in hand. And what I learned yesterday in a conference was this may not be as bad as we anticipated. So first of all, in July of last year, 2024, the Fifth Circuit Court ruled that USAC, which administers the E-rate program, was unconstitutional because essentially Congress gave the FCC rights that Congress shouldn't have given away. So FCC shouldn't have been able to assign fees. They call it a tax without Congress's approval. The argument is it's not really a tax. It's the FCC was given very specific rules by Congress on how to administer these programs. That is the basis of why it's being called unconstitutional. It really comes down to the fee that's being charged to consumers and companies across the board for this service. So this was all, this is all before the election. This is all under the previous administration, and honestly, what we've seen since then, the Supreme Court has decided to take, and in fact, it's happening next Wednesday. So this is really timely and kind of, I don't know, an exciting time because I haven't followed too many Supreme Court challenges as I have this one. But next Wednesday they will hear the arguments. Both sides will have 2 minutes of uninterrupted time to say what they're going to argue about. And then it's a free-for-all, from what I understand. The justices get to interrupt and get to ask questions, and everything that the lawyers have planned to say and do can be thrown out the window because the justices rule the show. There are 3 justices that are kind of in the middle on this topic. However, what they said was we don't know, we don't want to predict things, but we feel good about where we're at, that the footing that they're trying to take on why this is unconstitutional hasn't really worked in the past with any Supreme Court, including this current seated one. So There's more to come on this. We will not know anything after Wednesday. The justices really keep their decisions close to the chest during the hearing. And in fact, they say if you feel good about a hearing when the hearing's over, there's a good chance that you'll be disappointed when the paper comes out. So take it for what it is. You know, there's nothing. We will continue to use E-rate like we use it. If you apply for E-rate, don't not do it this year, or don't stop filling out the forms. There's a long way before we know anything about it. However, we should know something before July 4th, which is typically when the court adjourns for the year, and they try to have all their cases taken care of. However, this year is unique. There are a lot of cases that are in the appeals process based on current executive orders that are on the docket and need to have some kind of resolution soon. So this may be the first year in a long time where that date is pushed back, or the priority of this particular case is not as high as the priority of some of the others. So we may not hear about it as quickly as we would anticipate. So that's all I know, and you're welcome to contact me directly, or if there's questions for time for questions and answers at the end, I'll be happy to answer anything I know. Leslie?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for that information. And I'm glad you're going to be, hanging out with those of us that nerd out on Supreme Court hearings and the outcome. To me, that's like a really exciting thing. So welcome to that crowd as well. Anyway, so getting back to thinking about, first of all, Troy mentioned, put your questions in the chat. As soon as we're done going through a couple more slides, kind of setting the stage, we're going to turn it open to you. So we really want to hear from all of you. And hopefully we can answer some questions that you may have. Because our statewide library service, our library support comes from federal and state resources, it is in our best interest to focus our efforts in two different directions. We all know that libraries are not partisan organizations. We are here to serve everyone in our service area. And Illinois, federally and on a state level, is represented by both sides of the aisle. That's a piece that being aware of that helps us to work in our communities every day. But we connect with our patrons. We also, on behalf of our patrons and those services, connect with our elected officials. And I think it places us in a really safe area to have those conversations. And we are, and continue to be neutral. So outreach to your state and federal elected officials is key here in our current, with our current new objective of getting MLSA reauthorized. And so we're here today to one of the things we want to do right now is share some resources with you via the chat, unless they've already been placed there. That will keep you informed and may highlight ways you can become involved. I think Kate has several, or are they already there, Kate?
I believe Carol is handling
Carol
that.
too. Okay, awesome. Sorry, Carol. Okay, well, we'll wait for those and we'll move on. The advocacy that's needed here, I want to stress, is really the work that you do every day. You are in your library and you're talking to patrons, you're answering calls, you're interacting with others in your community, you're at the grocery store and somebody asks you a question in the grocery line and you talk to them about something neat that's happened at your library. You're already doing that. You're already advocating for library services. And it's important to understand that when we're talking about IMLS, that there are two primary components of IMLS. Libraries is where we are, and museums is the other component. And in some of our 8 communities, you are probably interacting with folks from county historical societies, from your local city museum. We're all in this together. And that being together, and knowing it's not just me and my colleagues who have a vested interest in libraries and museums continuing to receive federal support gives me a lot of strength. That this very large group of stakeholders and everything they have to say is what makes the work easier and also comforting, at least for me. Our elected officials are people who like to know that the money that they allocate for community programs actually makes a difference. They also want to know the success stories from your agency. That can be someone's, completed their degree online through services available at your library, and now they have a job doing X. It could be something that's a really heartwarming story about information that your library was able to provide to a patron that helped, save them in any number of ways. So those big things that happen and the small everyday things that happen in your libraries all matter. And again, you're already, I believe, interacting with your electeds organically. And so the step from you were at my library and for your office hours, and then I shared information with you, and you agreed to speak to me and some of my colleagues, is actually playing out for some of you right now. So for example, you might have seen on the director's list an email this week from Jill Pfeiffer from Fairview Heights Public Library. State Senator Erica Harris was in her library for office hours. Jill wasn't actually, as I understand, even in that meeting, but she was pulled into it because she was asked questions, and Senator Harris wants to know more about why IMLS support matters to this library, people in her district. Why does IMLS matter? So Jill is in the process of establishing a place and time to have an informative and hopefully helpful meeting with Senator Harris. That's what I mean about this happens just in a matter of your day. And I want to encourage you and support you in doing that going forward. So right now we're going to take a pause, and we'd like to hear from you. Sarah and Leah, I believe, are monitoring the chat. So can you let us know what questions or comments there are?
I don't see any yet. Feel free to put your questions or comments in the chat, and we'll get them answered as best we can. We have a comment that one library has received 11,500 in back to books grants from IMLS. So
And that's awesome. Is that Gary? I think it popped up.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And so that's one of those other grant opportunities that the state library uses, is able to provide because of IMLS funding to them. So there are other things as well included in that. All right, so Carl wants to know what % of delivery is federally funded. I don't have that exact number right now. I can just tell you that we didn't always receive this federal money to support delivery. That happened several years after we merged, and the state library decided to take advantage of the federal funding that they had in a year where state funding, if you recall, several years ago, it seemed like the funding was still there, but the pipe it came through was smaller, and it seemed to take longer to get there. So that's when the state library switched to using some federal funds to ensure that library systems receive that support. I also want to stress to all of you that we've had no indication, and we're in almost daily contact with our colleagues at the Illinois State Library, that as we are now preparing for our fiscal year 2026 operational plan and budget, that we are to do anything different in terms of the amount, the allocation, because our funding is allocated based on the federal census, the decennial census, and it tends to stay at that number for 10 years. So we've not heard anything different from the state library. So we're confident about that. Also, there's an overlap between, or a delay between the state fiscal year and the federal fiscal year. So the state fiscal year begins in July and goes through June. The federal fiscal year begins in October and goes through September. So with that delay, even though both are currently in their fiscal year 2025, the state library holds on to those resources that they receive from the Grants to States program and use it in the state's following fiscal year. I hope that makes sense. So to my understanding, that's why we've not heard that things are going to change for us in FY 2026. But it's also important to keep in mind that if federal funding in general, and I know that it's a big number that the state of Illinois receives annually from the federal government overall. If the state, for some reason, has a reduction in that funding at any point, then that puts more pressure on their big budget that they've got to resolve. So I hope that makes sense. I mean, right now we're good. We need for IMLS to be supported financially and legally October forward. Really, no other questions? You're a happy group? You're a satisfied group?
We've got a question over here.
Good.
Does this affect our new handling system in any way?
No, it does not. The IHLS purchased our automatic material handling systems from our capital funds project. And we've had those funds in place and they've been there for a while. So we used, although on paper or in budget terms, we transferred money from our general fund budget to the capital fund to make that happen. That's already taken care of. That's already been insured. Good question. Okay, I'm not seeing any others. So I don't want to hold this up. Please know that you can reach me, you can reach your colleagues that are also with us on this call at any time. We're really happy to help out, and I will always share the information that I have at the moment because I think we can make our best decisions when we are all on the same page, information-wise. So thank you. Thank you, Kate.
You, Leslie? And again, if anybody thinks of any questions later, feel free to reach out to Leslie or any of us at IHLS and share, and we will direct you to the right person if we can't answer it. So today, we're gonna go back now to our regularly scheduled system updates. We're gonna go ahead and I think we've got time for some slides with friends. So John is going to be sharing the screen today.
Okay. Okay, let me copy the URL into the chat. It didn't hyperlink it, but
Oh, that's all right.
Okay.
and see if I can make this full screen. I think
It looks like a hyperlink, John, in the chat. It looks strange, but it looks like it's coming.
good, as long as it works.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah, we'll give
sign
give everybody a couple moments to log in. The top person on the leaderboard gets a gift mailed to them. And the points are assigned randomly.
I just need to clarify, IHLS employees are eligible for the top prizes in all categories, correct? I am very competitive.
No.
No? Well, I'm still gonna win, just so everybody knows.
Okay, you can still join. The first couple questions, or the first question at least, is kind of just how's everyone feeling this morning? It's been kind of a heavy topic morning today.
Please have a little bit of grace for me. I am replacing Sarah today and I have not done this particular thing before. So we've got a few people that we're waiting on. Okay. Boy, there's a lag.
John, try just hitting your arrow on your laptop.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. One of those weird quirks of Slides with Friends.
Thank you, Cassie. Teamwork really does make everything better. It makes the dream and Slide with Friends work. So 3.4 out of 5. I think normally our average is like 3.7, so a little bit down today. Okay, so we just had our administrative update, but that does not mean that we don't have an administrative question. Unless, Leslie, there was anything else that you wanted to add today.
Thank you, Kate. Right, what we're working on right now is our next system area per capita grant application. And because our board approved our new strategic plan in December, when you see our new operational plan for FY26, it's going to be directly connected to all the input that you all shared with us graciously last summer and fall. So we're really excited to get that out for all of you to hear, to take a look at and give us some feedback. Thanks.
We have a question going back to Leslie's comment, our
Mhm.
first presentation. Is IHLS going to be able to provide us with a one-stop shop for advocacy materials about the issues that we've discussed?
So I'd love for my answer to be yes, and it'll be exactly what you want, what you need there. We will be sharing more information. Carol Hogan Downey, who's our communications and advocacy administrator, does a great job of keeping us all up to date on current issues. So I anticipate that it will be easy for you to find, and we will definitely be working on it. Oh, she's already answered. Yay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. So what did IHLS launch at the beginning of the year? And in case anybody missed it, Carol is working on something for the website. Did we launch a strategic plan? The Library Appearance Awards? Plans for the 2026 Book Card Olympics? Or a traveling weeding consultant?
We really need to get like a theme.
We
Just to
do.
play, you know? I would say Jeopardy, but it's probably
Yes,
copyrighted.
that's right. I think Leah has I'm gonna put Leah on the spot. I think Leah has a connection to the music world that can make us some original Members Matter music, right, Leah?
I definitely have a composer on speed dial, actually. For anybody who hasn't followed, he's my future son-in-law, so.
Perfect, okay, looks like about everyone answered, so I'm gonna go ahead.
And that is one more time, if you click it, that will say, yes, it's the strategic plan. Human resources update. We have Jill Trevino in the room with us today. Jill, do you have anything to update us about?
Just the normal. I am available for consults, so please reach out to me if you have any human resource question that comes up pertaining to your library, anything that you would just like to discuss and kind of run through. HR issues are always so sensitive, and they affect us in just so many ways. There's a lot of laws as well that pertain to those types of issues. So I am available and more than happy to answer any question. You can always call me directly. You can book a consult if it's something that can wait. But as we all know, most HR issues are ones that come up at the spur of the moment and need to be addressed immediately. So please call me, please email me. I am available. Don't get discouraged if you don't get in touch with me right away, but if you please leave a message, send me an email, I will get back to you just as soon as possible.
Thank you, Jill. Now, originally Jill was going to do a presentation on I-9 documents, which will be available to our members in some format sometime soon. But for pre-learning exercise, your I-9 documents for all employees should be kept where? Should they A, be shoved in with all other employees' records in a manila folder, B, in a separate binder, separate from all other files, and locked in a locked cabinet or electronically filed? Number C, or letter C, who needs I-9s? I don't. And then D, I only have to keep I-9s on non-US citizens. Give everybody a few more moments.
Give your best educated guess. So, you know, this is a hard one. This was made in response for the I-9 compliance due to the recent ICE raids that were coming into libraries and how you could combat that. And that is with having the proper documentation. So that's what my I-9 compliance presentation was going to be about today, but I will absolutely share it in the near future.
Okay. And that's right. It should be kept in a separate binder, separate from all other files and in a locked cabinet.
You all rock. That is absolutely correct.
And now John gets to do double duty, providing the
Yes.
share update and working the slides with friends.
Hello, so I'm gonna try to keep the update short and sweet today. The first thing I wanna bring to attention is a few weeks ago, we had our annual share members group meeting. Where our committee members discuss some of the policies that they voted on that are actually coming up for member vote. So share member vote is open right now, and we ask that all of our members please vote hopefully by tomorrow. Is kind of our internal deadline so that we can get all the data gathered, because we have to get at least a majority of all members to vote for us to take any action whatsoever, no matter what the result is. So we have to get that more than half of our members have to vote. Each agency gets one vote. If multiple people vote from the same agency by mistake, we do whatever is the first one that comes through. So it's always best to designate who is going to be the person who is voting. And so if you haven't voted, please check the SHARE website. We have a description of every new policy. We have a recording of the SHARE members group meeting, and get that vote out because we need it to enact our new policies. Other news, we are also the SHARE McNaughton book leasing program. Registration for that is coming up. You will receive an email about that in the next few weeks with some more information. And about a demonstration with it, but be on the lookout for that. We think it is a really useful opportunity, especially for some of our smaller libraries, to take some of the weight off of them. And we also have been trying to advertise our Kit and Caboodle program, which is especially for youth services librarians, because a lot of the materials for youth services programming can be quite expensive, and it's a good way for people to, again, share those resources for something that they purchase that maybe they'll use once a year, and to kind of share all the resources we put into buying those materials. So for example, I know there are a few costumes that are on Share Kit and Caboodle. You can find more information about that on the Share website, and you can just search Kid and Caboodle on Aspen to actually see what is available. We have heard some issues about the Cloud Library app and issues with Kindle Fire users. That has to do with because the app was recently updated with the new marketing and logo and everything, and it may have to be, that caused a few issues with Kindle Fire apparently. It may have to be re-downloaded by users, but if you have any questions, you can contact Danielle Horton, our e-resources specialist, and she can provide you some more detailed information about that and how to get that issue fixed. Hopefully, that issue will be taken care of soon. And that is all I have currently. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, John.
Oh, and now I hit,
Oh,
oh,
and
Cassie
here's
has something to
Cassie.
add.
I just, John did a fantastic job for the share update. I just want to wear my ILA committee member hat for just a moment. Reaching Forward South is coming up on April 4th. If you're coming in or you're in the area that night before, they're also doing a Dine to Donate program for Chili's. And so if you're traveling for Reaching Forward South and you've got to eat anyway, let's get some of our money sent towards ILA for some of their programs. So I just wanted to promote that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we hope to see a lot of our colleagues there at Reaching Forward South. Okay, John, the first question is, in April, Share will celebrate its 14th anniversary. Share has more longevity than which of the following TV series? A, Bones, B, Rick Steves Europe, C, Supernatural, or D, SpongeBob SquarePants?
Just because I like that show.
The answer will shock and amaze you. No, I actually don't even remember what the answer is.
I guess.
Okay, can give it a few more moments. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
Oh, it was pretty split. It was
Oh.
Bones.
Yeah.
That's the one.
By 1 year. 1 year.
It's because I like the show.
This is rigged. I quit.
Okay.
Lost that confidence, did he?
Which of the following is, which of the following is not a share policy up for member vote? A, unmarked items, B, using profanity in mark records, C, on order records, or D, data privacy and protections.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the answers. Yes, please don't make us have to make that a policy.
Okay, now we have our communications update provided by Dr. Carol Hogan Downey.
So first, I want to recognize our winners again for the marketing micro grant. That is Mississippi Valley Library District, Fairmont City Center, Library Center, and the Fairview Heights Public Library. So congratulations to both of y'all. And I do see there's a question in the chat that Leslie, you might want to provide an answer to really quick. That's all for me.
Thank you, Carol. Gary asked, how useful is it to contact state representatives since IMLS administers federal programs? The reason we want our state legislators to, we want to interact with them is one, so that they know what your agency does in general, what you may do specifically. You mentioned on IMLS past grants that your library has benefited from. So they're aware of how that all fits together. And also so that they know when when or if IMLS is threatened with continuing in the future, they can understand that those programs that you're currently providing, because of support from IMLS, your patrons are still going to want them. So regardless of whether the funding comes from they need to know because if there is no IMLS funding, and I don't like to think that way, but if there is no funding from IMLS, that it's expected that the state picks up the ball. How is that? Not to be crude or anything, but like if your patrons want those services and they're not getting it from funder A, the expectation is that it comes from funder B, which would be the state. Does that help, Gary?
Thank you, Leslie.
All right, no problem.
And the communications question is,
Oh, okay.
what is the name of the grant that was announced at Member Day? The IHLS Caring is Sharing Annual Grant. The B, the Live and Learn Construction Grant. C, IHLS Marketing Micro Grant, or D, Book Repair Grant.
Gonna give it a few more moments. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
And it is the IHLS Marketing Micro Grant. Delivery update, Colleen is joining us in person today.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Okay, for general delivery, we are preparing for a surplus auction. If you're familiar with how we handle our delivery vans, we often surplus them after we have gotten to a certain number of miles to ensure we're saving on our expenses when it comes to higher mileage vehicles. So we are preparing for one pending our IHLS board approval at our board meeting next Tuesday. And so if that is approved, we'll have one available, and it will first go to our members as well as the Illinois State Library and Rails. And they have first kind of authority to be able to bid on those. We do it through a surplus auction website. And so if for some reason no member ends up purchasing the van, it does go to the public. And then that's when, if you're a library staff member and you'd like to buy it for your personal use, you can buy it then. So stay tuned for the member connection. We'll have the details published there after everything's been approved from our board. And in case you're curious, it's a 2019 Ford Transit, and it has around 203,000 miles on it. So, okay, and then for the rest of my updates are mostly for the share members with the automated material handling system project. So we're gearing up for the first installation that will begin at the Edwardsville hub in about 1 month. April 23rd is when we're set for Linkso staff to be on site and begin the install of those. It will take approximately about a week, could be about a week and a half, just kind of depending on how quickly everything's set up with the IT side and the machine itself getting installed and making sure everything's working correctly with the electrician. So as a reminder, the transit slips will not be turned off right away. I know we had previously said that it was going to be in July, and then we realized that with the barcode duplication project, there's no way to get rid of the transit slips until at least December 31st, 2025. So, and then if you're an RFID library member and you have not got an email from me in the last week, or I have not talked to you on the phone, please reach out to me. We need to gather a data piece for the Linkso staff. And I do believe I got everyone that we think we know that has RFID. There's not a setting in Polaris that we know. So if you haven't heard from me, please reach out to me. And then for the AMHS, we're doing a Name the Machine contest. If you saw that, that began, I believe it was February 28th. And that was for member libraries to submit potential names. We're going to name each of our machines at the hubs, so we have something to call them. And then that closed on March 14th. So the next step is that IHLS staff will narrow it down to the top 10 names, and we'll remove any identifying information, so no one's biased with that. And then the third and final step will be sent out, And that will be for our member libraries to narrow it down to the top 3. And then we'll just, the top 3 names, we'll just choose between the 3 hubs. And we'll have a grand reveal of what the names will be in July. When we have that Carbondale, we'll do a live ribbon cutting at the Carbondale hub after their machine has been installed. And stay tuned for the date. We think we have one, but we don't want to announce it until we know for sure the machine will be installed by that date. So, and then of course, all the announcements regarding this project are always posted on our website as well as in the member connection. If you want to go to the IHLS news section, you can filter at the top there between different topics, and there is one specifically for the AMH. And then of course, reach out to me at any time if you have questions about anything. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, Colleen. Who can submit names for the AMHS Name the Machine contest? A, the general public, B, any IHLS member library, C, IHLS staff, or D, all of the above.
Giving it a few more moments.
Seeing that is the correct answer, any IHLS member library. And then last, we have our membership update provided by the membership team, which I believe the representatives here today are me and Leah on Zoom. I know that our big news for right now through the end of the month is certification and Illinois traffic survey. Certification. So if you have not completed your certification or Illinois traffic survey, you most likely have already heard from me, Leah, or Ellen. And if you still have not completed it, you will definitely be hearing from me or Leah in the next week and a half. So other than that, we've got a ton of continuing education events coming up. We just had a spot open. I haven't checked this morning, but as of yesterday afternoon, we had a spot open up at the Marion Book Repair Workshop. The book repair workshops have been going great. Linda Johnson is fabulous at showing and demonstrating some simple book repairs. We have one more after that, April 7th at Forsyth. Last I checked, we still had a few seats for that. Next week, we've got the mental health first aid overview, where the instructor Sherry Bersham from the University of Illinois Extension will be giving just a quick what it is, what you learn, and then we have 2 in-person ones coming up. One is in Centralia and one is in Marion. And then we also have our HR Source webinar series. We have one coming up about employment law in April and performance reviews and ongoing performance management conversations in May. We opened these up to Rails members about 2 weeks out. And whenever we did that with the first one, it filled up immediately pretty much. So I'm imploring you, we're offering these to our members first. So if you have any interest in those, there is a small cost associated, but I really want to see a large portion of the attendees be our IHLS members. Well, I'm sure that our Rails members can attend as well. And then Leah, do you have anything else to add?
I think you've covered it.
Yep. You don't want to throw in one more certification?
Please certify if you have not done so already.
So what would your friendly membership team love if you did as early as possible every year to avoid giving us indigestion, frown lines, and insomnia? A, invite us to come visit your library. B, send us flowers or cheese, preferably both. C, make sure your library's L2 information is correct. Or D, complete the Illinois traffic survey and certification.
You can give it a few more moments.
That's what I was thinking, Troy.
Okay.
Yes, it is complete the Illinois traffic survey certification. I did see Troy's comment that that is all of the above, and yes, it is all of the above. We love to come visit your libraries. We do love flowers and cheese. And what was the other one? Oh, make sure your L2 information is up to date. But yes, as Leah said, we do age considerably in the 3 months between certification opening and closing. So let's see where we're at with the final trivia question of the month. Okay, actress, comedian, and novelist Carrie Fisher, best known for her role as Princess Leia, passed away in 2016 and was interred into an urn specifically designed to look like what object? A Darth Vader helmet. B, a box of Little Debbie's Cosmic Brownies. C, a Prozac pill. Or D, a bottle of ranch salad dressing.
She had a great sense of humor. Are any of these actually obvious? I actually wrote this question, so it's one of my favorite, slightly morbid fun facts. I'm gonna give people just a few more moments to put in their vote. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. So let's see what people said. Okay, so most people said the Darth Vader helmet. We had a few, Little Debbie, because her mother, Debbie Reynolds, who actually died the day after her. Which was sad, but also like fascinating. But the answer is a Prozac, yes. Yeah, apparently, her brother said that it was her favorite thing, Prozac. It really changed her life for the better, apparently. She felt very strongly about it, and I wish I would have included a picture of it, because it looks like a Prozac pill.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay. Second place, and ooh,
First place, oh, we got a tie.
yeah.
For first place. So we've got Amy and Christy, and if you can message either in the chat or one of us directly to let us know which Amy and Christy you are, we will get you those gifts.
Okay.
Okay, so that is it, and we are wrapping up about time today. So, okay, that's Amy from Chatham, let's see. And that's Christy from Glen Carbon. Right?
Oops.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. We'll be back next month at Metropolis Public Library in person. And we will be having Mandy Walters, who's the director of Penn d'Oreille, I probably did not pronounce that correctly, from Washington State, doing a presentation about doing less with less. It was really good when I saw it at the Association of Small and Rural Libraries Conference, and I think that you will all enjoy it as well. So we will see you all again next month. Have a great day.